By far, the month that I get asked the most about for national park trip planning is the month of March. People want to know, what are the best national parks to visit during March? And today I'm going to share my favorite destinations with you. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes, and I love the month of March in the national parks. It's awesome. The reason that a lot of people ask me about where should I go in March, what are the best parks to visit in March, is because this is the beginning of spring break season for a lot of people. So a lot of people are able to take a break, they're able to get out. March is a really popular time to get out and try to get to some national parks, especially as the winter is melting off, the spring is coming. We're all itching to hit those hiking trails again. So today I want to share with you my 5 favorite national parks to visit during the month of March. But first, there are not only 5 good national parks to visit in March. I actually have a full list of 22 national parks that I like to visit in March. Let me show you. If you want to take a look at this list, head over to dirtinmyshoes.com/month, and I'll link that in the video description below as well. But you can sign up for this free National Parks by the Month list where I have every month and the national parks that are best to visit during that month. So you can see, here's all the months, here's March, there's a whole bunch. I'm only talking about 5 of these today, but there are more really great options. Jump over and sign up for that list because that will help you for every month of the year. And as I said, I'm talking about 5, but there are more really great options. So this is by no means an inclusive list, but these are the parks that you're most likely to find me in during the month of March. For March and spring break season, you will find me down in the bottom of the country, the very bottom of the Southwest. So we are focusing on the parks that are kind of down in this area. And those are the ones that I want to talk about today. Park number 1, Big Bend National Park in Texas. So Big Bend National Park is in the middle of nowhere. It's next to nothing. It's in West Texas. The closest major town is about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from the park. And so you're heading down all the way to the bottom. You're going right along the banks of the Rio Grande River, and right across the river is Mexico. So there are some really cool experiences you can have. I truly believe that this national park is absolutely a hidden gem. A lot of people are not willing to make the trek to get down here, but it is well worth your time. Big Bend gets really hot during the summer, so you're going to want to avoid those months. And in fact, sometimes when I have visited this park in March, it's been 100+ degrees already. And so plan for some heat if you're visiting this park. If you don't want to deal with the heat and if you don't want to deal with the spring break crowds, then I would push Big Bend closer to the end of February versus the end of March. That just makes a big difference. The other thing you'll definitely want to check is, when is Texas's spring break? Because this park just gets absolutely flooded with people during spring break week in Texas. So I do like to avoid that week if I'm going in March for sure, but the rest of the time you usually get really great hiking weather. Big Bend is famous for birding. There are so many different kinds of birds that stop here along the Rio Grande during their migrations, and so you can see a lot of really cool things. The hiking is fantastic. You can float the river. You can go into Santa Elena Canyon, which is just absolutely gorgeous, and either hike or float. You can do some off-roading. You can go in some hot springs. You can go into Mexico on a burro. There's so many fun options for this park, and it will keep you busy for at least 3 to 4 days. All right, so Big Bend is down here. Like I said, it's West Texas, but the bottom of West Texas. The next park we're heading to is also in Texas, but it's right up here on the border. We are going to Guadalupe Mountains National Park. So park number 2, Guadalupe Mountains National Park. This is a very small national park right on the border of Texas and New Mexico. There's not a ton to do here. One day is usually pretty sufficient unless you're wanting to do some longer hiking trails. But it is a really unique park, and this park protects the highest peak in Texas. So that's pretty cool. Guadalupe Peak is the highest peak in Texas at 8751 feet above sea level. Not only does this dominate the skyline here, but you're also looking at an ancient Permian reef. So there's a lot of fossils. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can discover if you're willing to look a little deeper. So for me, the magic of Guadalupe Mountains really is digging into the deeper learning that you can do in this park. On the surface level, you might not be impressed, but when you start learning more about the fossils and about the landscape and about the mountains, that's when it will really come alive for you. The third national park that you'll find me in during the month of March is Carlsbad Caverns National Park. And Carlsbad Caverns is just across the state border. It's in New Mexico, but it's only about 45 minutes or so from Guadalupe Mountains National Park. And so you can hit both of these in the same trip very easily. I highly recommend seeing both. Carlsbad Caverns protects a beautiful cave system, and in fact, multiple cave systems. But I think it's my favorite cave system in the National Park Service. I know that's a bold claim, but every time I'm there, I'm so in awe of how beautiful and how massive this cave is. So you get a lot of those like giant rooms, more like Mammoth Cave, but then you get all of the decoration to go with it, which Mammoth Cave doesn't have much of. And so I really love that you get the immensity and the decoration. It just makes for a super cool visit in a cave. Make sure, if you're a hiker, that you hike down the natural entrance to get down into the cave. Skip the elevators on that part. Hike down through the natural entrance. It is so impressive. And then you'll get down into the big room and you can take a self-guided tour there. You can also sign up for ranger-led tours. They do those as well. And then when you're ready to head out, you can take the elevators out. You will want to note that you do need to make a timed entry reservation to go into Carlsbad Caverns. So even if you're not taking a ranger-led tour, you still need to make a reservation for the self-guided tour of the big room. Now, there is one negative part of visiting Carlsbad Caverns during March, but I find it's a pretty good trade-off, especially if I've been there a few times. And that is that you will most likely miss the bat flight. The bats that live in the cave that come out at night usually aren't there in the month of March. So if you want to push this trip a little bit later, but again, if you go a little bit later and you're hoping to visit multiple parks, like if you're hoping to go to Big Bend at the same time during the same trip, then if the later you go in the year, the hotter the park is going to be. It's going to be miserable. So you do need to keep that in mind. But typically when I'm going to these national parks, I'm hitting all of these national parks in one trip. And so that's why I kind of find March to be the sweet spot to get to all of these parks while the weather is good and while pretty much everything is open. Park number 4 is White Sands National Park, and this park is so much fun. Again, it's a smaller park, and so you really only need about a day here. You could do a little bit longer if you want to just, do a little extra sledding or hike on the dunes a little more, but typically for all of these parks, 2, 3, and 4, 1 to 1.5 days is pretty sufficient. Looking at the map, so we had Big Bend down here, we have Guadalupe Mountains and Carlsbad Caverns right there, and then just right over here is White Sands. So again, it makes a lot of sense to hit all of these parks kind of on your big spring break road trip. You can get to them all. I have basically 2 favorite things to do in White Sands National Park. The first is sand sledding. You have to sand sled while you're here. It is so much fun, and it's crazy because the sand is white and so it looks like snow, but you have really nice warm weather and you're not getting cold and you're not bundled up. You're just sledding down these white dunes. So that is definitely something that you don't want to miss when you go to White Sands. The other thing is that I always plan to be in the park for at least one sunset. The sunsets in White Sands are phenomenal. It's some of the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen in my life. It's ethereal, it's magical. It feels so amazing to be on this white sand and watch the colors paint the sky. So plan on being there for a sunset at least, and don't miss the sand sledding. A couple things about white sands that a lot of people don't know. First, this park is only open for certain hours of the day, and so you will want to check the official website to see their schedule to make sure that they are going to be open during the dates that you plan to be there. The other thing is, if you go during the spring, that is typically the windiest season down in this area, and so driving to and from White Sands, there can be really high winds. If there's really high winds, the dunes can be kind of miserable because it's just blowing sand all over your face and in your eyes and stuff. So just know that that is a possibility. However, spring is still one of my favorite times to be here because summer gets really hot and the monsoons come in. Fall is very nice. Winter is cold. So again, if I'm doing this as part of a bigger road trip, I like to be here in March. We have been to White Sands around this time of year probably 3 or 4 times and have never had much problem with the weather. So you do take that risk, but it's really fun to be here and it makes for a great spring break destination. And park number 5 of my favorite national parks to be in March is Saguaro National Park in Arizona. Saguaro National Park is fantastic for those beautiful desert landscapes. It's got some great hiking, beautiful sunsets. Again, in all of these Southwest parks, I really make a huge effort to be out in the park either during sunrise or sunset because that is my favorite time of day to get photographs and to be out exploring. When you go to Saguaro during the month of March, you are almost absolutely guaranteed beautiful weather. You're in southern Arizona in the Tucson area, and it's just really nice this time of year. It's not too hot yet, and a lot of the cacti are blooming at this time. The saguaro is not typically. That's a little bit later in the season, but you've got all the prickly pear and the choyas and all these other cacti that will be blooming at this time. So it's just absolutely gorgeous. Saguaro is really unique because it's split up into 2 different districts. You've got the east and the west with the city of Tucson in between. And so you can stay in Tucson, you can do one day in the east, one day in the west, whatever you want to do. But just know that the 2 sections are separated by about an hour drive time as you make your way through the city of Tucson. Both sides are beautiful. I prefer west for hiking. I really like the Valley View Overlook hike. That's really nice. There's some petroglyphs out there. There's some nice nature walks. Sunsets from here are my favorite. We will go to the east side to do a little bit more like scenic driving, stuff like that. And sunrise on that side is gorgeous. So you get the best of both, visit both districts, but it's really a cool national park and the perfect destination in the month of March. So Tucson is right here. That's where Saguaro is. And so you can see again, you're pretty, not super close, but pretty close. As close as you're probably going to be to some of these national parks. And so if you want to make it all one trip, fly into Tucson. You can see all 5. You'll probably need a little bit longer than a week to do that, but it's definitely doable. Because again, Saguaro is a small national park. If you want to go to both districts, I'd give yourself a day in each one. You could get away if you're okay with a little bit of driving between the districts on that day. You could get away with just 1 to 1.5 days, but it's a small national park and it doesn't take much time. All right, my friends, so I just gave you 5 national parks that you can turn into a really epic road trip for your spring break vacation. Cross those parks off your list, get to as many of them as you can. Don't forget to sign up for my National Parks by the Month list so that you can see the other March destinations that I really love. You can get that at dirtandmyshoes.com/month, and it's free. It's my gift to you. So I hope I see you out on the trail. If you're visiting any of these parks in March, there is a very good chance that I will see you out there. Happy trails.